Cast at Crowns Inc. Today's particular topic to discuss is being passed around a lot in various circles. Everybody's favorite sex. Not the act, though, the blame, the sexualization, the over sexualization. Whether you talk about in America or you talk about black women in America, who is to blame? Is it the black man? Is the black man responsible for the over sexualization of the black woman in America? Let's get into some histories about this. First of all, everybody should know that sex is an industry, right? And I'm not talking about the actual acts as of yet, even though that in itself is an industry, but the promotion of it, the marketing of it, creating a space where one would be enticed, the onlooker, the consumer would be enticed to want to indulge in sexual activities. That's a market. The people who are behind that market are not black men and they're not black rappers. So that's number one. The over sexualization. What we need to think about is, are people being paid for their services? Are there terms and conditions that people are agreeing to? So when we see women in a sexual, exploitive way that we would call it, were they paid? Or is this something against their will? You see, slavery in America, a black woman was sexually exploited, but that was against her will. She didn't sign an NDA. She didn't receive money, right? She didn't come out with a book after talking about the amount of plantations she's been on and the slave masters she slept with. No, this was against her will, by force, right? By force, by manipulation. So this was not voluntary. This was not out of choice. I've got choices. Do I want to work at the store? Do I want to work in the hospital? Do I want to be a teacher? Or do I want to be in the sex industry? No, she didn't have a choice, okay? Her life was on the line, right? So let's get to the over-sexualization. As often, many people in the United States of America are comfortable with the blaming of a black man. Like that's a contingency plan. When all else fails, blame a black man. Black people have been called the N-word, as we call it, for a very, very long time, hundreds of years. But people would say it's rappers' fault while the N-word is in circulation. A rapper. Like, how long have rappers been around? How long has the country been around? How long has it been used in the country? And maybe not on linear television will you hear the N-word regularly. But when you have people who represent the future of this country, the youth, when they're communicating online, and these are white children I'm referring to, there's a large portion of them when they're communicating online, they use the N-word. It's not an influence of rap. So a racist in 1786 wasn't influenced by rap music. And a racist in 2024 is not influenced by rap music. Yet somehow, some way, you blame a black man for the N-word. You're just as simple as can be. But I digress. So the over-sexualization. Let's talk about some things. So you had this guy. He's a pastor, or was a pastor. He's, I think his last name was Lentz. It was just entertainment. It's not really much about the salvation of your soul, but his church in New York City was just all about entertainment, making you feel good, a feel-good speech. When if you're familiar with God's word is not prone to making you feel good, but God's word is prone to you getting right so you eventually feel good with the reward of what God gives you. Most churches do not have that course of action. It's about making you feel good now, but making you feel good now without the spiritual responsibility that comes with the application of God's word. So this particular pastor, Lentz, in New York City, he was a married man, and he met this woman, and he wanted to have a relationship with the woman, so he was secretive about who he really was. So he told the woman not to look up his background, right? Don't do any research, don't Google me, so on and so forth. She did, and when she did, she found out who he was. She found out about his professional life, his personal life, so on and so forth. Even though she knew these things, she knew he was married, she knew his profession. She, along with him, they both consensually agreed to engage in a sexual relationship. This relationship ultimately caused him his career, which, so what? Nevertheless, here is the thing about the sexualization part. This man had a wife. This particular woman, who some may look at as a homewrecker, knew very well that he was married, still engaged in this relationship with him. He, of course, knew he was married. He engaged in this relationship with her. But she was interviewed on Good Morning America, not the wife. Not only this woman who engaged in the sexual relationship was interviewed on Good Morning America, then she went on to have she was a star on a reality show. So you see that once again, there is a sexualization and an over sexualization that goes on right here.